We just started. How are you? First of all, I'm in. I want to show you my elaborate new podcast studios. It's called Hotel Room. There you go. So I'm going to plan on doing these podcasts from anywhere and everywhere. Now that I put together what I think is a pretty awesome crew, organizing my thoughts. I've tried podcasts before, and they were. I felt like I put good stuff out there, but I just didn't. I want a guy, and I need someone to organize thoughts. Like today, I have a set list. All right, so there's the intro and where I'm at, and then we're gonna have little things that we go by. And so, with that said, this is hopefully the beginning of something really, really cool and an awesome journey we're going to go on. There's so many things I want to do. I don't even know where to start, but I will tell you this. We have to start somewhere, which is why I'm starting now. Now, some of you that already know, this is a whole different segment of a podcast. Those of you that are on my Patreon page, you already know there's a 1 hour segment I do every week where you, the fan, you, the Patreon member, you're the one podcasting and interviewing me, which I have to say has been so stimulating, so mind-provoking, such a learning experience for me, because every time I think I know who follows me or who's into me, whether some people go way back to I remember seeing you in this show called the Uptown Comedy Club in 1992. What? And some people like, I had someone go, I saw you on Nickelodeon in the late 80s. And I'm like, what? I didn't think anyone knew that. And by the way, that's your homework. See if you can find me in my very first TV spot ever, and I will grant you a podcast if you're up for that. So if you can guess or you come up with the clip of my very first real television network appearance, and that could have been a guest spot, it could have been a sitcom, it could have been a stand-up comedy spot, whatever that is, I open up that door for you to explore. Hold on, Bryan McKenna's here. Hey, are you getting the key for the other room? Or are you going to do it here? No, I'll do it in the room. There you go. What is the other room? It's 4321. 4321. It's on the fourth floor? Huh? On the fourth floor? It's on the fourth floor. Okay. 4321, Bryan. Yeah. So that's Bryan McKenna knocking on my office / hotel room. So I've been organizing this for a long time. And the thing with me is I know I have ideas. I have the segments I want to do. I have all the world that I want to put together. I just need that help. I need the organizers. I'm not a great organizer. I'll sit there and go, hey, you know what? Let's do this on Tuesday at like 11. And then Tuesday at 10:45, I'm like, oh my God, I totally forgot. My wife wanted me to, I had to drop my oldest daughter off at work because my wife isn't here. So can we start at like 2, 3? It's always like, we don't have to do next week. I'm not feeling it. So that's not going to happen anymore. I found a cool team, which I will introduce to you. And we got a lot of cool segments to start off with. So like I said, you can already see the podcast where you, the listener, interviews me, which has been extremely entertaining. The one I just did, by the way, was I'm really curious to see how people take to that one. It's a guy that's an actual minister in West Virginia, And he was so brutally honest, so authentic, raw. He didn't hold anything back. He's not worried about repercussions. He went. He just the first half hour I just listened. I laughed a lot because I wasn't also sure. I was like, is he real? Is he really? And he never really. I did kept asking him one question, and he never. Now that I think about it, I don't think he ever really answered the question, or maybe he did. I just didn't hear the exact answer that I was looking for. So I'm currently in Schaumburg, Illinois, doing shows. I used to come here years ago, and I would do the Improv in Schaumburg, Illinois. And what it reminds me of, I haven't been here in years, 6, 7 years. I love the owner, Tony and Stephanie, that work here. It's just amazing people. But this reminds me of having my father around. When I started traveling around with my dad, Schaumburg, Illinois is one of the places I remember the most because him and the owner, Tony, really hit it off. Me and my dad would go to Maggioni's. We'd go to all these restaurants around, and just staying here, I always stay at the Hyatt, which is right across the street. And it's, I just remember spending so much time with my dad, and I'd wheel him here, and the staff was always really kind. And they're like, if you have to be driven anywhere, well, let us know, and we'll get you where you got to go. And you tell us. And there was one guy here, was a German guy. Yeah, the thick accent and come from Germany, yeah. And he would always go out of his way to help my dad. And he loved how I traveled with my dad. And he would help him get off the bus and on the bus. And then every time we'd go to the comedy club, and the owner, Tony, reminded me last night, he goes, Jim, I miss your dad. He goes, it's weird seeing you without your dad. He goes, the last time he was here, he would always, he'd always wait till you get on stage, and then he'd start going, get me some beer. Will you please get me some beer while Jimmy's up on stage? And so, which, my dad loved having, he was alone, he was away, didn't have my mom going, you can't have drinks, Jim, you're on blood thinner, for Christ's sake. You want to die? You want to have a stroke? Because I'm not taking care of you. So my mom, she wasn't the best caretaker. I'm not taking care of you if you have a stroke, for Christ's sake. I'm old enough. I'm going to start living my life. I don't need this nonsense before I go to the grave. So I loved taking him out. When I would take him out, you could see there's just this sense of like a bird out of a cage. He was like, I can't fly far, but I'm going to walk around and check out the sights. And we'd go to the comedy club, and he immediately with the staff go, can I have a Budweiser? And I'd have to pull the staff aside, go, listen to me. He can't have a lot of beer because then he drops a deuce in his pants, and I'm the one that's got to clean that all night. And I know it's all hunky-dory and let's hang out with the old guy and he's cute and all that, but here's the deal. At the end of the night, I'm in the toilet, dry heaving, my veins are popping out, and I enjoy it. But he 3-4 beers, he's in la la land. Doesn't mix well with the 500 pills he's got to take every day. And just so, do me a favor. You can give him a beer, but give him non-alcoholic beer and pour it in a glass, and he won't know the difference. He knew the difference. He's not stupid. So he would wait till I go on stage, and that's when he pulled the staff in, like, now that Jimmy's on stage, let me get a beer. Tony last night was like, Jimmy, every time you go on stage, your father was like, quick, get me beer. I said, yeah, I know. And they remind me of one of the times we were here in Schaumburg, and my dad did have an accident. Oh, brother. And you know what, though? I would never trade those times away. It was worth every single. It was. Oh, dude, Mike. You're a monster. By the way, Mike is my like Fred to Stern. He is the guy. Mike, this is a look at you. Wow. See, right there, I'd bring him on tour, and the two of us are watching George Carlin live right now. He loved George Carlin, especially his last two specials when he got a little gnarly and a little heavy. And my dad never laughed. My dad would do this. This is my dad laughing hysterically. You ready? He go, hmm. That was my dad, absolutely belly laugh. And once in a while I go, ah! It's just but I'll tell you what, I look at that and it's a great place to be. And, you know, I will tell you this. I know there's a lot of people my age too that you're becoming caretakers. You're becoming caretakers right now, and it's not easy. They don't tell you this. It fascinates me. There's no universities. Do they teach anything how to take care of one another or how to take care of the elderly? Do they teach that in school? No, they don't teach any of the real key, deep soul nurturing things we need in life to get us by and get us through stuff like that. You know, some of us have big jobs or we think it's big jobs, and then like, hey, what do you do about your parent? You're gonna stick him in a home or are you gonna go for it? And not that one's right or wrong, but I'm just saying I'm glad. And I'll tell you, it was worth every single second. Every dry heave, and I dry heaved a lot. It was worth every single time he crapped his pants, and it was a lot, a lot. I'm telling you, I wrote a book years ago, it was supposed to be a blog, and it turned into a book. But I will tell you this, my next book. I should write my next book on how to help people that are going through the caretaking process. And I'm going to call it the 10 top cities my father dropped a deuce in his pants. Because there were some great places he did that out in public and all that. So with that said, that's where I'm at, Schaumburg, Illinois. And it brings back great, great memories of my father and going on the road. Now, in the meantime, I'm working on a bunch of new stuff, and I've also noticed I've got a whole big new following that stemmed from the video I made a couple weeks ago. Two things. One, I was not anticipating that. And it's I don't know what the other thing is. And one thing is I was not anticipating that. Nor was I asking for that, but I have it. And I welcome it with open arms. I welcome anybody that's willing to open their mind and sit at a comedy show just to let go, just to laugh. But I find myself right now, for those of you, you know, a couple weeks ago, you look on my Facebook where I went live and Instagram where I went live, and I just all I said was I'm not going to play venues. I don't want to put anybody in a position where they are forced. Some people say it's a choice. It's not a choice. It's not a choice. The choice is do it or no. That's not a choice. That is coercion. That is bribery. That is you define it how you want. But when you say, "Hey, listen, do this or you're never working again," but I've been working here for 20 years and during the whole, too bad. This is the new rule. So, well, are we got like that's not a choice. So people that say it's a choice, Zip, you don't know what you're talking about. Unfortunately, you don't know what you're talking about, and you're emotionally attached to the category of the team that you joined. It's all just categories. But common sense in life will tell you it's not the way life should be. And if you're not glued to whatever the big light is telling you and the big screens are telling you, hey, this is the latest and this is it's and you can think for yourself. Well then, so all I said was I don't want to play venues where people have to show that they they've taken a shot. If you've taken a shot, great. You chose to do it, and that's your choice. But if you choose not to, I don't want to play somewhere, perform somewhere, or entertain for people. I don't feel entertainment, you should be forced to take something. That's just me. Now, what happened was, which I did not know, was this explosion of viral video. And I'll tell you what, to be dead honest with you, when I did, all I did was just, I make a video and I put it away. And then what happened was, I remember my agent calling, and we think differently. He's one side, and he's political, but I'm like, I don't get into politics, man. Which is another thing. People are like, oh, you're getting political? I'm not political. I just tell you common sense. You're the one that categorizes and makes it political. I don't tell you who I vote. I'm not political. I just talk common sense, my common sense, what I see. And he's like, yeah, I don't. You're that last video made. It's trending. I said, what does that mean? It has a lot of views. He goes, it's gonna hit the news. Well, how do you know that? He goes, it's definitely gonna hit the news. And sure enough, when I tell you every news outlet, I mean every radio station, every news outlet was like, we want you, we want to talk. Now I've been doing this a long time, and I know how that works, especially certain corporate. They're not news, it's all corporation propaganda. So every corporate propaganda was out to get me on their show. And then what they do is they wait for one clip, and they use that one clip as clickbait, and then they're off the races. And then most people just see, they'll be like, Brewer's anti-vax, and that's all they see. And no one ever said that, but they categorized it, and they get away with it. It's just like me saying, hey, my neighbor's a whore. And you're like, you're kidding me? Oh yeah, dude, the way she drives, you can tell it's people in and out, and a whore. Now, that's not even a fact, but now that I told the whole neighborhood, there are people now going, oh, I heard this one's a whore. And they don't know nothing about the situation. But that is how corporate propaganda works. And you can't reprogram. Once you see the headline, your brain is already set. These terrorists came into, before you even read the article, you go, oh, I heard these terrorists. Ta-da! It's magic mind control. It doesn't exist. Yes, it does. So, with that said, I now, everyone and their mother wanted to talk about it. Now, I still was feeling very passionate about the situation, very passionate. And I strongly feel the same way. And I'm always going to feel that way. There's nothing you can, I have people going, you're giving misinformation. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? That's a propaganda word that you've been taught. That's everyone's new. The propaganda word is misinformation. There's no information. What is information? What are you talking about? So there's a person that reached out to me and they said, hey, I lived in the next town where you were in Jersey, and I used to see you in the mornings talking to your crew and your kids, and you're a really good guy and a family guy, and I work for XYZ. And I went, oh, no, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. And she was like, no, you need to, what you said was pretty powerful. It was moving, it was spiritual, it was real, it was honest. And the outpouring of people, when I tell you, the thing that resonated with me the most was the amount of people that reached out and said, thank you. I'm like, thank you. Thank you for saying what millions feel. We're so scared we don't know what to do. And that really made me sit back and absorb that. You got a lot of people going, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. And nobody's thinking about them. And they know something's wrong. And they know they're being forced to do something they shouldn't be doing. And no one's acknowledging that. And there's a lot of stories, and I was really moved by that. Really moved by that. And I decided to go on this one show because she said, he will not interrupt, and just get your piece out there. I said, okay. So I did it. I live in Florida, and when I went to the studio, and I couldn't see this person, it was just a screen. So I can't even tell if they're reacting or how they're reacting, or if they like it or not like it. And I gave my piece, and whoa, boom, holy crow! I cannot believe the following after that. And then again, you had nobody listens to the mess. The people that watch it, many people heard the message, and the message keeps going. But the people that have already categorized and say, I don't root for that team, and I hate that team, and I hate that person. Here's the problem with where we're at in life. And we really have to come and grip with this. You know the phrase, God works in mysterious ways? And what that means is your life can change by one person, one saying, one action. Don't worry about where it comes from. The most important thing is, what is the message that's being said? And sometimes, I learned something from Jane Goodell. Jane Goodell, you know who that is? She's the one that studied the chimpanzees for a while. And I highly, highly suggest you watch her documentary, because it's not just about chimpanzees and apes and primates and saving them. It goes into women's rights and changing life for the better. And she said something so powerful. She went, people would get mad at me because I would sit down with the big evil corporations that were causing a lot of these issues. But how are we to ever find peace unless we talk with our enemies and we sit with our enemies, and then we get a conversation going and we get the message out there? The most important thing is go far and wide and everywhere you can to get a message. And eventually somebody will hear it, whether people want to get mad or put it away and all that jazz. There you go. This, I'm telling you, I was blown. I told my daughters, I know you're into, female rights and da da da. This woman, watch this documentary. It is so powerful. It is so beautiful. It's a great story of spirit, soul, humanity, all that jazz. I know a lot of people are putting science as their new God, but unfortunately, science doesn't have a soul. Science can't hold you. Science makes mistakes. Scientists are paid. by people that want specific numbers that are stats that are also manipulated to play with your mind. If I tell you, I did a poll and scientists said, scientists now say that 60% of people, how many did you talk to? 4 people. You don't get the study. That's the only thing you get, and that's what plays on your mind. They know you're going to go, if I go, oh, my friend's in rehab, what do you think? Drugs, alcohol. Rehab covers a lot of categories. So my point is, I went on this program and it blasted. And then I saw, like, I was a fan for years and dude, consider me gone, Jim Breuer. How dare, keep patronizing to the, and people just, they lose their minds. You know, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. You can hate all you want. You can judge all you want. You can categorize all you want. Because all those things that you're doing don't come from a good-spirited place. They come from a disease. Just, it's not my way, and that's what it comes from. If I go over my neighbor's house and my neighbor's an asshole, cheats on his wife, and he beats his dog, and he's an asshole, but there's someone on his porch, I'm like, why is that asshole hanging out with him? But they say something that's so inspiring and powerful, changes my life. Do I just throw that comment out the window because they were at that asshole's house? Of course not. So you're just selling yourself short if that's your mentality. Now, if you watch my interview, never brought up politics. I don't talk politics. I never talked about anything but what I had to say and feel. And it went far and wide. And then after that, I did a full 1 hour interview. It was with Tucker Carlson. I don't know anything about the guy. And we flew up to Maine. And when we were in Maine, I didn't know what to expect. We just talked. It was a powerful conversation. I talked about my dad and where I think the world is right now. And again, we never brought up politics. I think he might have tried. I don't remember, to be dead honest with you. But I don't do that because I know everyone's corrupted. When it comes to politics, everyone's corrupted. Everyone gets paid off. And I'm glad I did it because people heard a message, which brings me to this audience. So after this video, my first show was New Jersey. Vinnie Brand's Stress Factory. And it was a Friday night, sold out, incredible. When they, and Bryan McKenna will tell you, he'll be on a second. Brian's touring with me right now. When they introduced me, it was a different type of applause. It wasn't typical, yay, Jim's here. It was standing, yeah. And what I noticed was there's a whole new group of people that go, I don't know who this guy is, but I like what he says, and I'm supporting this human being, and I will be there for you. It was almost like, so, and I'm telling you, it went on for like 3 to 5 minutes, and I got on stage, and they were, and then they come down, and they go back up, and that has happened there. Then it happened in Milwaukee. Then I did Naples, Florida, and it happened. And then last night at Schaumburg, and I noticed like, oh, this is a whole new crowd. And they want the guy from the video, who he is there. But I'll let Bryan McKenna elaborate too. Is Bryan?
I'm here.
What's up, Bryan?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Did you hear anything I was talking about just now?
I did. Yeah, I've been on for the last 5 minutes or so.
All right. For those of you who don't know, Bryan McKenna, comedian. He helped me a lot with my new special coming out. Somebody Had to Say It, which drops in November. You got to join Patreon. Just join the lowest tier for 1 month, starting November 1st. Okay, well, we're in November. And when you get the special, you get the podcast, you get the videos. And as soon as you download the special, bam, boom, done. Piece of cake. But now, Bryan, you were, and I'm starting to see, you're starting to see, like last night.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, it's a whole, there's
Jersey was a crowd that was just kind of like you had a 2-minute standing ovation before you said anything.
Right.
Which is great, which is nuts. Like 2 minutes were there. Like it was these people in the front row. I'll never forget their faces. They were like this.
Right. They're like,
their fists are out. They're going
rally. Like, the rally starts tonight, ladies.
The waitress is trying to get a drink. They're like, God, he's here. This guy's here.
He's our voice. He's our leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, it was, and I've seen you get standing ovations before, but usually you said an hour of comedy before you got a standing ovation. This was like you hadn't said anything. So it was a weird, like, it wasn't weird, but it was still like, oh, okay. This is people that you haven't touched before. Yeah. You know, what I think is interesting about that is that you made a decision, and the decision, you know, and people decide, okay, I'm going to decide, I'm with this guy. I like what he said. And then what I like about it is that you've also been a comedian for 30 years. So they have if they never saw you before, you're in not only you're a comedian, you're the top 1% of the comedian, not to blow smoke up your ass, but that's the way that it is. And I go, then they're like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I like this guy, and now I can enjoy comedy too. It's almost like the excitement that they walk into it now is just different than I've seen before.
I agree. And you know what I thought? In each place we go, I go to, you weren't with me in Milwaukee.
No, I was with you.
You were.
Yeah.
And this is the next gig you're at, right? This is we haven't seen each other since Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, correct? Yeah.
So last night, there was a lot of that too. Last night, both shows, and I noticed because I sit in the green room. And I hear you, and you just mentioned, now, if anything, you get a little bit political.
Very rare. I mean, I touch on it.
I take that back. I take it back. You don't get political. I take it back. You mention names.
Correct. Yeah, that I will do.
You talk about Fauci, and you talk about Zuckerberg, and you hear them going, yeah! We're here for that. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. I actually think Mark Zuckerberg is hated more than Dr. Fauci. That's the thing that's kind of interesting. People, when I make fun of Mark Zuckerberg, people are like, I want to hit him. Like, I want to hit that guy. What is wrong with that guy? You know what I mean? So it's up there. It's when you say those names, they're like, yes, you think the same way that I do. So it's kind of interesting.
Yes, I feel like it's opened up there's been a suppression of the thought process and how people truly feel, and it's been so suppressed. You're not allowed to think that way. If you say something, we're gonna do it. And they're out and about now. And I don't. Not that I'm, and I'll tell you what, man, I had a phone call. I had a lot of phone calls, but I had an interesting phone call, and the one person was like, listen, did I tell you about this phone call?
I don't think so.
Okay. I got this phone call, never talked to this person before, definitely a name. And he goes, Jim, you did your part. You created something. I know you don't even realize you created it, but you created something. Do yourself a favor. Enjoy your family. Enjoy life. Keep doing your comedy. Don't become the poster boy because they're evil. And I went, evil. He goes, you don't know. They're going after my career. they'll come after your kids. They're demonic evil. And I was like,
Yeah. You're like, I'm out.
I didn't plan on being out. It's very easy to get caught up in it. Trust me,
Yeah.
I'm not caught up. But I do find myself, that I don't plan on. It's almost like after I did Half Baked, right? After the movie Half Baked came out, and then I started touring, I noticed everyone was there for Half Baked. It was like 70%. They're throwing joints on stage. But I found myself trying to appease a pod audience and purposely writing over the top pop material. And I wasn't that guy. I might have been that guy a little bit, but I was like, I can't. I'm not. There's so much more to me. I can't just. So what I've noticed now is, and you saw it last night, shows where if you just talk about for a second, they go, yeah, this is why we're here.
Yeah.
But to balance it with, okay, there's a lot of people, you're part of the family now, but we have this other big family that's been part of the family for 20 years, 15 years, 30 years, and they welcome you as long as you also welcome all the comedy that comes along. And I have to say, it's a beautiful balance for me, because I feel like so many people don't know, are now showing up, and they're showing up from the video of the
exactly.
But they're leaving going, I had no clue he was that bad, but I laughed so freaking hard. And it's but I gotta sprinkle it, and I do. I sprinkle it throughout what I want to put out throughout the show.
Yeah, and you do a good job of it, because all you really have to do, like you said, is just touch on it for a second for the reason they're there, and then if you come, and then you're good. You know what I mean? And you constantly, as long as you touch on it, you'll be fine, because there's no, and at the end of the day, I just feel like, if you make them happy, they're gonna tell 4 people, and the next time you come, they're gonna be, you know what I mean? So I go, it's a good little balance that you have right now, which is nice.
Really balance. So just to tell you, for people out there too, you see comedians and you see whatever you see, and it's funny. You probably just think, oh, Jim goes and then life is great, and he goes up there on stage. Same with Bryan, and just I learned this in a long time ago. My infatuation was ball players and rock stars, and I realized like, oh, they have a real life that leads up to this, and so much. So what I'm getting at is, Bryan and myself are both going through an interesting struggle right now. We both wake up in the middle of the night. Do you mind me bringing this up?
No, good.
Okay. So
no, it's fine. I don't care.
I'm getting a thing called cluster headaches. You can look it up. It's horrifying. I'm working through it. I had one last night. I do have this preventive pill where the pain level. So you go to sleep, and then 2 hours after you fall asleep, you wake up. You're like, oh my God, and it's horrifying. I gotta go breathe next. Last night, the pain was like a 2, 3 rather than an 8, 9, 10, which they usually are. You guys can look it up. But Bryan comes to me, and I think this led to one of my, if Fear Factor was still alive, this would be my all-time horrifying, and I think for all males. So tell people you have a problem sleeping. You wake up in the middle of the night. And we both agreed this is stress related. But go ahead. What?
Probably. Yeah. Well, I wake up in the middle of the night and I pee like 9 times. Like, it's just all the time. I'm constantly waking up to go pee. It's just ridiculous. So I mean, I went to everybody. I went to a sleep doctor. I slept inside a sleep lab where they stick electrodes on your head. You know what I mean? It's the most ridiculous thing in the world, because you sit there and you lay there, and they're like, "We're gonna watch you when you sleep," and I'm like, "Oh, I can't wait for the comforting sleep that I'm gonna have with somebody watching on a camera staring at me."
Right.
So I went and did that. That comes back. They're like, you don't have any problems. I'm like, no, I have many problems. Trust me, there's many problems. So I'm like, you just didn't see it on your little cameras, but trust me, there's many problems. So then I went to a urologist, because I don't know. I have no idea. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I have cancer. I have no idea. I'm like, let's find this out. And I go to the doctor.
I thought that I've been having these years. I thought maybe I had brain cancer. I did scans. It's brutal.
I'm,
You're going through something. It's a little freaky to when people can't find out.
it's
Something.
exactly, something's up. And the worst part is the cell phone, because and it's so true, because you literally Google something and it could be anything from you had too much water to you're gonna die by the afternoon. You're like, oh, okay, great, this is great. I'm like, this is what I want. Great,
Right.
yeah, that's what I want to do.
Right.
And I know it's like everyone says, don't Google your symptoms,
You can't
and it's
help.
like, but I can't stop. I go, not only am I Googling, I'm Googling the symptoms, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm connecting dots. I'm like, well, that happened 4 times last year. And this must mean all of a sudden you're like, that's it. I'm writing a will. I'm giving it to people. I'm like, here you go. It's nice knowing everybody. You know what I mean? So then I ended up going into urologist because my fiance was like, I can't live like this anymore. You got to go talk to somebody.
Right.
I go to the doctor and they give me the worst test. I mean, I don't know if you want to get graphic, but
this is the neurologist.
This is the urologist, the P doctor.
All right, so now you go to a P doctor.
I go to the P doctor.
All right.
Which is another situation in and of itself. I'm like, how did you get out of medical school and you were like, I like P. I mean, that's a good thing to, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's like me with a colonoscopy. Like, do you study?
yeah. Like, what do you do?
Clean ass.
Yeah. You're like, it's like, yeah, it's just like, is it like doing oil changes to them? They're just like, yeah, it's not a big deal. We just do that. Like, what is this? You know?
You screwed up a couple brain surgeries.
It's like, you're looking at the human body. You're going from your head all the way down to your toes, and you landed on urine somehow. Yeah. Like, somehow you landed there.
I found my calling. Piss.
Exactly. Piss. You're like, that's it. That's what it is. And I never, and they, basically, long story short, they take a camera and.
But didn't you know this guy?
Yes. Well, yeah, I didn't want, yeah. So his name is Dr. Eisenberg of Advanced Urology of Long Island. He'd love this call out because he's a comedy fan. So he came and saw us do he's seen us do stand up.
Okay. So he's a fan. And so
yeah.
And is
that?
Is that how you found him, or did it just so happen when you showed up? Dude, I can't believe you called. I'm a fan of the show. So okay. All right.
I can't. So it was after the fact. I went in and I met him, and he's looking at me and he's like, do you do comedy? And I'm like, oh no. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, yeah, I do. And he's like, yeah, I think I saw you. And I'm like, great. I'm like, now I got to find a new doctor. The one doctor that takes my insurance. You know what I mean? Thanks a lot, Obamacare. And I got 5. And I'm like, come on, man. So we're laughing because he's like, he'd seen me do stand up, and he was a fan. He's a fan of you. He was a fan of comedy. So it was like, all right, whatever.
So I would assume to me, that would actually make me feel kind of good. I'm like, all right, this guy's going to take care of me. All right, let's do this.
Yeah, it made me feel good in the sense like, yeah, he's going to do the right thing. And then, so he was a fan of comedy, and then, he starts giving me all the tests. He takes my blood. He does the whole, because I think I'm dying. I go in and I go, Doc, I have cancer. And he's like, relax. He's like, relax, dude. Like, calm down. He's like, let's see what the deal is. Gives me every test. Gives me the finger. Gives you the finger where you don't want it. You know what I mean? It like gives you every single test you could possibly think of. And he does the test of the camera. How do I explain this in a nice way for your audience? In
hole?
Yeah, in the pee hole. In the pee hole. Yeah. And he goes like this. I'll never forget it. He goes, I go, look, dude, is there any way around this? Is there any way not to do this? And he goes, look, if you had a busted knee and you came to me and you needed an MRI, like, would you ask a question like that? And I go, well, no, I get the MRI. And he goes, okay, so what are we doing here? And I'm like, and I go, well, how is this going to feel? And he goes, look, it's going to be very uncomfortable, but you should get some stand-up material from it. And then I said to him, I go, is it like a Tonight Show set or like a Netflix special? How much time are we talking here? How much time am I going to get out of this?
You don't understand. This is worst. This is my worst. This is. I have not ever slept over in a hospital, and the reason that I do everything I can to stay healthy and not go in the hospital is because I don't ever want to I don't want anything up my pee hole. That's my worst. So now you're in his office and he's sticking it up his. Okay, go ahead.
And he goes, I go, are you gonna numb? Are you numbing anything? Like, what are we doing here? I go, yeah, I go, I go, what are we doing? We're just gonna do this? We're not even gonna. And I go, you gonna numb anything? He goes, look, he goes, a little bit. I'm gonna numb it a little bit. I'm like, can you make it a lot of it or hit me over the head with a hammer? I go, what do you have here? Is there drugs? Knock me out cold.
Knock me out.
Knock me out cold. And then he goes, all right, it's gonna be a little uncomfortable. And let me tell you something. Anyone who's had this situation happen, I don't even know how to explain the feeling because you're literally like that. You're like, and
word is it stiff?
I'll be honest. I didn't even look. I was like, I'm not. I'm not. I go, you do what you got to do. I'm gonna do what I got to do over here. All right. I go, you do. Just go look over this way. I wasn't looking. I'm like, you're out of your mind if you think I'm looking at this. And the funniest part about him as a doctor, he's a great doctor, but he was like commentating and telling me what was going on as it was happening. Like he was like, okay, so I'm gonna go touch your bladder. I'm like, hey, bro, you don't need to tell me I don't need to know where you're at. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to know. Like, imagine
you're in
worst
there.
possible. I'm in here. You're already in here.
You're already in. I don't need to know.
Yeah. No need to discuss it. And he's commentating like he's Marv Albert, like over the thing. You know what I mean? He's like, okay, we're gonna hit your bladder. I'm like, bro, don't tell me about the bladder. I don't even, And he goes, okay, and I swear to God, if anyone who's had this is what they do. They spray your bladder with water because they gotta see. That's what I said to him. I go, what did you stick a Inspector Gadget thing up there? I go, what kind of hose did you put in here? The camera has a hose on it, and they shoot your bladder to kind of see where your bladder's at. I don't know. Evidently, this is part of the process. He brought a super soaker up there for all I know, and he goes, I'm going to spray your bladder, and I go, okay. He goes, it's going to be uncomfortable. I'm like, as if the last minute and a half hasn't been any more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And sprays my bladder. It feels it. All of a sudden, he's like, you may feel like you have to pee. I'm like, yeah, I gotta pee. And then he finishes the thing, and he basically just tells me, he's like, we don't know what your problem is. So I go, hold on. I go, Doc, I gotta stop you. Let me stop you right there. I go, see, we did all that, and you don't have an answer. And he goes, yeah, sometimes you don't get answers to things. And I'm like, can I see your medical degree? Can I? I go, it's not on the wall here. Like, where is it?
Bryan McKenna's coming in, and little does he know we're gonna stick a gadget in his pee hole, and then we brain thing. He's experimenting. Little does he know we're not even doctors.
He's like,
oh my.
Yeah. So they found nothing. Basically, he said, now here's the thing. He goes, I just think you have an overactive bladder. And I said, well, how do you get that? And he goes, most likely from stress.
Really?
Yeah, he goes, most likely from stress. There's really no reason why it develops because I never had it before. So anyway, turns into this whole, now I'm taking medicine that helps, but it doesn't stop the whole situation. Until recently, you gave me a tip, and other people had said it to me before, but then you were like, I think you need to do that. And you had said to journal right before bed.
Right.
Like just write that, just write. There's no amount of pages, whatever. And go. And I the first thing I said to you is because I'm so used to like, well, how many pages do I have to do? What do I have to do? And you said there is no number. Just write down whatever's bothering you the night right before you go to sleep.
Right.
And I go, all right. I started doing it right before I go to bed. And it has definitely helped.
Right.
At least calm my nerves for whatever reason. But now I don't think I'm a high-strung person, as you know. You've been around me long enough.
Don't always show that. Brian, by the way, Brian has like this subtleness about him all the time. And
Very stoic.
The more I got to know him, the more I realized the subtleness is this deep, boiling anger that's waiting to come out. And he never fully explodes. He'll just go, you know what really bothers me, man? And he'll We'll be having coffee, and I'm like, why don't you talk about that on stage? Yeah, I should. You know what else bothers me? Why don't you talk about that on stage? Yeah, I will.
Your daughter Gabby was always funny with that because she would sit there at breakfast and start laughing. She'd be like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I don't like this waitress. They haven't walked over here once." I'm yelling about the waitress.
And even yesterday, but that is the power of stress. It's given headaches every night to the point where you guys look it up, cluster headaches, not migraine, clusters, also known as the suicide headache. That's how powerful, but it's all related. And people have to learn how to deal with their stress. And even last night, breakfast yesterday. Well, you got a lot going on, Brian. You got a lot. You don't have to get into it.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in your life right now.
Yeah.
A lot going on in your life. And there's a lot going on in a lot of people's lives. And so whatever what we learned is stress is a monster. And it can make you sick and keep you it'll give you headaches. I'm telling you, it can cause cancer. I'm not a doctor. I'm convinced it can cause you cancer. And it can lead to someone sticking something up in your pee hole because you got to piss for it. Even yesterday, we had breakfast. It was 11 in the morning, and I just sat down. And you've been here for 24 hours. And the first thing you said, you were like, "Listen, I got to talk to you." Right. How are your nighttime activities? Oh, they're getting better.
Yeah.
Stress.
Yeah.
But anyway, so tonight should be fun. Also, by the way, I don't know if you want tonight. I'm filming every set, and I'm going to film tonight's set too. I just film that whole thing. So this is part of the new podcast we're going to be launching in all different directions. We're going to have all different types of segments and guests. I plan on having you on a lot, Brian. I'm glad you came on. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you for having me.
I'll see you in a little bit. I'll see you in a couple minutes. I'm just going to wrap things here.
You got it.
I made dinner reservation for 4:15.
I know. That's how we know we're getting old. We're like, we go at 4. Is there any way to go at 4?
And then this way we got time to relax. And then we got time to show and get it all crazy again. And then we do the other show. It's going to be good.
Exactly. Well, thank you for having me. Your fans, I got to say thank you to the fans who listen to your show and who have come and seen you over the last couple of years. You've always been so gracious to me. So if this is my chance to say thank you, I would like to do that. They were always so nice to me, and I really appreciate it. So
have a good one, Brian.
I'll see you later.
Yeah, good seeing you. So Brian's good. Everyone has a lot going on. He makes me laugh so hard. And my plan for this year, my wife would always say, you should produce. This morning, I got off a phone with a writer, actor. He's been around. He's been Sopranos. He's been a bunch of stuff. And I am going to be going in that world. And I plan on developing a lot with you. I really do. I talked about it with some of the Patreon members, but you, the audience of the podcast, I consider you more than just listeners. A lot of times I put a lot of trust into you. So we'll be able to develop a lot. And with people like Brian and comedian Joe Sid that I bring on wrote a lot, I just started working with another guy. And I would love to be able to book them on their own, like them to start touring if I could do that. Well, anyway, long story short, you'll see more Bryan McKenna. I believe he has Instagram and all that jazz if you want to share. So something I want to leave you with. I don't know. I'm going to leave you. You name it. Right now, I'll call it part of the Breuniverse. We'll call it little nuggets that might help your day. Something that will during these times, any times, your mind is occupied nonstop. From the moment you wake up, your mind is occupied. The first thing you do, you check your phone, you turn on the television, turn on the radio. Your mind is occupied. You didn't even have time to gather your thoughts. And maybe you go into work and you jump in the car, and then you're in the car and your mind is occupied and thinking about where you're going. Then when you get you going, now they're like, you need you to do this and this and this. Your mind is occupied. Hey, let's take a break. You would take a break and you put your headphones in and you're back on the phone. You're checking Instagram. Your mind is occupied. Our minds are not meant to be occupied for that amount of time. They never were. It's like being a lab rat. You got to learn to completely unplug. I'm not talking about just not listen. I drive. I don't listen to radio. Pure silence sometimes. Most of the time, it's silence. I haven't turned a screen on in years. When I say a screen, TV, I don't even. It drives me nuts when I go in a hotel and they have CNN. Why do you have CNN blaring at airports? You're forcing people to listen to it. You're forcing them. They don't have a choice. Turn this off. There's no reason for propaganda and information to be blasting in your head everywhere you go, pumping gas, having a bagel, all that jazz. Do your best to get rid of that. At least start with a small exercise. Try a half hour a day, and your mind will slowly clear. Now, with that, right, here's my little nugget. With the energy you want to invest in watching your favorite news, watching your favorite, I need to get the information. With the energy, is that energy creating, or is it creating like, wow, I feel so good? Because I can bet you this, a lot of your relationships, a friend, a parent, a husband, a wife, someone you love, a child, a lot of relationships now are suffering because we don't give to one another, but we'll give to my political party and the message they got to say, and the news network that I need to be. And think of that energy. If you just take 10% of that, 10% of that, and start what I call them love bombs. What's a love bomb? It's real easy. You know how you always say, man, I really want to reach out to blah, blah. I will sit and I will be silent and I go, you know what? My brother died years ago and he left 3 boys. And it wasn't easy. And I remember when he passed, there was this, some will call it a dream. It's all how you define it. I feel I know what it was. And he came to me and he said, I mean, it was clear as day. He came to me. It was about 10 seconds. And he said, look after my boys once in a while, check in on my boys. And I could tell something. He goes, they'll be okay. Just check up on them once in a while. And don't worry about mom. She's got you. And we were like telecommunicating. It was beautiful. I saw all the colors and it looked peaceful and beautiful where he was. I'm just being dead honest. I'm not trying to say anything. I'm being dead honest. And I said, how are you? How are you? And he giggled. He went, I'm super. And he was gone. And I get so busy sometimes and I forget, hey, check in on those boys. Even though they're older, there's someone in your life that you could check in on today. And the key factor is don't check in on them and expect anything back. Just let them know I'm thinking of you and I love you and I'm here if you need me. And it could be a text. It could be funny. It could be whatever you want it to be. And when you send that out, don't expect anything back. What you should have is a big smile on your face, knowing and trusting when that person sees that, bing, they're like, oh, wow, wow. You never know. That little ounce of love, that little love bomb, the loose love scud missile. It could be your wife. You know, she's just having a hectic day with the kids and all that. And all of a sudden she goes, that's right, love bombs, baby. Love bomb. And all of a sudden she gets it and she's like, oh my God, you don't know how bad I needed this. Somebody, don't ever estimate someone in your life needs a love bomb today. One sentence, one word, one message. It could be a voice message. Send it to them and don't expect anything back, and trust that that love will start to spread. All right? That's my little nugget for the day. Send out a love scud missile. We have a lot to do on these podcasts. One of hopefully years worth of where we're going to go. There's so many segments we didn't even touch upon, get even close to. We'll get into that next week. I wish you all the best. Take time to sit, be still, be silent, and send out some love bombs. We'll see you next week. Thank you for listening. I hope to see and hear you on Patreon. If not, wherever you are in the world, safe journeys to you. And I wish you a lot of love and laughter. And stop categorizing. We're not meant to categorize. Later, Gators. Signing out of the Breuniverse.